Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of No DQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, the YouTube channel, and No DQ&A videos affiliate, RingsideNews.com. It has been a full week now since WrestleMania 30, but it feels like it's been a lot longer because it has been a very busy week in terms of news. Probably the busiest week that I could recall ever, one of the most for sure, in the past 16 years now that I've been doing NoDQ.com and WWFWCW.com. It has just been a crazy week. Lots of things happening. We have a brand new TNA World Champion, and I'll get to that in a minute. Let's get started here with the first question from Jock Paul. How long do you want Daniel Bryan to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion? I would like to see him be champion for an extended period of time. He had those two very short title reigns, and I feel that after everything the fans have been through, he should get a lengthy reign as champion. I think it should last at least until SummerSlam, if not Royal Rumble or even WrestleMania. I think that he should be champion for most of the year, definitely. And there's a lot of matches you can do with Daniel Bryan. There's a lot of feuds he can have. There's just a lot of different directions you can go with Daniel Bryan as champion. And that leads me to the next question here from Dave Kosnick. Hey Aaron, for me this makes a lot of sense. John Cena versus Daniel Bryan. They are obviously friends, and with the Bellas with them, it makes the match somewhat credible. What do you think? Absolutely. I mean, that is an obvious match to do at some point in the near future, a rematch from SummerSlam. John Cena never got his rematch against Daniel Bryan, and that will be a huge match. So you can do that. You can put the Bella Twins in there. You know, Total Divas has been doing well in the ratings. You can have that storyline. It seems inevitable to me that we will see John Cena and Daniel Bryan at some point. And like I said in the previous question, there's so many different matches you can do with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan versus John Cena, Daniel Bryan versus Batista one-on-one, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H for the title, Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. There's a lot of mileage you can get out of Daniel Bryan as a WWE champion, and no doubt I think we will see John Cena versus Daniel Bryan sooner than later. All right, this next one comes from Tohi92. Hey Aaron, greetings from Germany. What do you think about Eric Young winning the TNA World Heavyweight Championship? Also, what is your overall opinion on last Thursday's Impact broadcast? Please answer in video and keep up the good work. Regarding Impact and overall Impact in recent weeks, I've really had no major issues with the show, and this week was certainly the most noteworthy edition of Impact in quite some time because I've actually gotten some questions here about TNA, and for the past couple weeks, I've rarely gotten a question regarding TNA, and all of a sudden, Eric Young wins the title, and I have like 50 different questions regarding Impact this week. Regarding Eric Young winning the TNA World Championship, I cannot buy into Eric Young as a main eventer, and a lot of that has to do with how he's been booked over the years. He's been booked as like this Eugene-type character, and then a Santino Marella comedy-like character, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to take him seriously as the world champion. I find it hard to believe, but on the other hand, it doesn't really matter who the TNA champion is at this point. Nobody in the company is really a draw. And Magnus certainly wasn't lighting the world on fire as champion, so you can experiment. You can have Eric Young as champion, and I do think it's cool that he gets the nod because he's been loyal to the company now for 10 years, and he's one of those TNA originals. So on that note, I think it's cool that he did win the title and finally got his big moment in TNA after having to do all those dumb gimmicks over the years. So, you know, I liked that, and I liked the Gauntlet Royal Rumble that they did. I thought that that was a nice way to build him up, and you know he won that fair and square, and then he beat Magnus clean. So you know at least that makes the title look good. It's a lot better than Magnus just winning every match with a million people interfering. And I got another question here regarding Eric Young. Actually, I got many questions very similar. Do you see TNA having Eric Young winning the world title similar to Daniel Bryan winning the WWE world titles? Obviously, a lot of people have made this comparison. Eric Young, this bearded underdog, overcoming the odds and winning the title. It is similar in that regard, although it was done very quickly. This whole storyline with Eric Young getting in the title picture has only been going on for a couple of weeks now. Um, so yeah, it does feel like TNA is trying to capitalize off of Daniel Bryan and that whole storyline with Eric Young being the guy that went against all odds and came back and won the title, and he just happens to have a beard like Daniel Bryan. It doesn't really bother me all that much. I mean, I don't really care if it's a knockoff or whatever. I am just, I'm happy for Eric Young, and I think any change from Magnus is good change at this point, to be honest. So, I'm okay with the title change, and, they could have saved it for the pay-per-view, but nobody's going to be buying the pay-per-view anyways, so might as well do it on television when you have over 1 million people watching. All right, this one comes from Gravy Sticks. If WrestleMania 30 was Undertaker's final match, shouldn't WWE have billed it as such going into the pay-per-view? Seems to me, knowing it's going to be the final match of someone the star caliber of Taker, would that be needed to get a lot of people to buy? Yeah, I think it would have been better if Undertaker was announced for the match as it being perhaps his final one. Lance Storm actually brought up an interesting idea that they could have done, where Undertaker came out and cut a promo and basically admitting that the streak will end one day and it's going to die, and that he is going to continue fighting, and when that day comes that the streak is over, he will retire. I think that if WWE had done that, there would have been a lot more intrigue, and if they had booked Undertaker as this guy who's on the verge of losing, instead they booked Undertaker very dominant in this feud with Brock Lesnar, and he got the best of Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar finally F5'd him on the last Raw before WrestleMania, but it wasn't enough. People didn't buy into Brock Lesnar being the guy that could end the streak, and it really, really hurt the heat in that match. And the match itself wasn't all that good, and maybe people didn't know just how bad of shape Undertaker was in, and it wasn't until the last minute until people began to realize this could be Undertaker's last match, and by that time it was too late to put it into the storyline and book it that way. So I mean, it's you just got to go with the flow here, and things happen, and if Undertaker breaks down, he breaks down. You can't really book it all that far in advance, not knowing for sure what kind of condition he's going to be in. All right, this one comes from Rogue San. Hi, Aaron. Given the emphasis WWE has been placing on fan power lately, it got me wondering how much attention they pay to popular news sites like NoDQ.com. Do you think that they have lifted storylines and ideas from suggestions or speculation made by fans? I don't think WWE really pays all that much attention to fantasy booking that fans come up with on the internet. The only time WWE really pays attention to the internet fans and people that go on NoDQ.com is when they are vocal, very vocal, not just on the internet, but in the arenas. One time that WWE did respond to fans on the internet was when Christian lost the world title to Randy Orton a week after winning it at that Extreme Rules pay-per-view. This was back in 2011. There was this huge outrage online, and I was just retweeting people and taking screen caps of all the negative comments. It was as bad as the Ask Dixie on TNA on Twitter. I mean, people were just so upset that Christian finally won the title and then lost it right away to Randy Borton, the same old crap. And, WWE ended up giving Christian a push. He turned heel, and he had that extended feud with Randy Orton over several pay-per-views and did win the title back at one point. So I don't think that was going to happen, but I think that WWE reacted to all the negative feedback from fans and decided to keep Christian in that main world title storyline with Randy Orton. And then, of course, the Royal Rumble, when the fans were very vocal in the arena, when they were chanting boring, when they were booing all the baby faces and booing Batista, they realized that they had to make a change and they had to do something different. So sometimes the fans, if they really are vocal and they speak out, WWE might change. But for the most part, they don't really, like for instance, the whole War Games speculation. If WWE decides to do that, I don't think it will be because of the fans lobbying for it. I think they'll do it because they feel that it's a good business move, or maybe somebody can talk Vince McMahon into doing the match. So, I think that it doesn't really matter all that much what the fans suggest on the internet, and I don't think that's a huge influence on what WWE does. All right, this one comes from Saber Ham Lati. Hey Aaron, love the work you put into this. I'm a longtime viewer, first time question. Do you think that WrestleMania 31 will be the best WrestleMania ever? Because I think that WWE will make something more entertaining to forget about the streak. I really hope that it's the best WrestleMania ever, because I am already starting to make plans for WrestleMania 31 weekend. It's about a 4.5-hour drive for me, so I'm looking forward to making the drive up to San Jose and Santa Clara and doing the Hall of Fame, doing WrestleMania, doing Raw the next night. So I do hope that they have something big planned for this WrestleMania 31. I'm thinking that Brock Lesnar will play a huge role. Maybe we'll see Rock versus Brock at WrestleMania. Whatever the case may be, I think that they will. They might even have Sting there. There's a lot of different possibilities. So I'm hoping it will be the biggest WrestleMania. Don't know if it will be or not, but I'm certainly looking forward to that event. All right, last question here from WWE Fan 5. Hey Aaron, do you agree that JBL talking about Daniel Bryan looking like a farm animal is getting boring and just pointless? I think that it needs to be dropped at this point. Now that Daniel Bryan is the champion, now that he overcame the odds, I think that JBL is best to say, you know what, Daniel Bryan did it, and he did what I was not expecting. He had it in him. I think that they should drop that, and they have gotten better. I mean, it was really bad 2 years ago when they were mocking him for being a nerd and all that stuff, and eventually they dropped that. So hopefully now, Daniel Bryan will be taken 100% seriously now, and they'll stop with the jokes or whatever and just, focus on him being a top main event babyface from this point forward. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Tell anybody you know who watches wrestling to check out No DQ&A video. And I will see you guys next week for another edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks for watching.